Hey everyone, Dan here. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button. It helps a lot. And also keep in mind that these are my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. These are not meant to be, nor should you take them as investment or trading advice in any way, shape, or form. Do your own due diligence, put in the work for yourself, and make your decisions based on that. Enjoy. All right, folks, so we are about 20 minutes after market close on Wednesday, August 25th. We're going to take our daily look at SoFi. SoFi continuing to tick up today, as we see here on the 5-day chart. We've had a nice roll up so far this week. I'm not telling you folks anything that you don't already know. Holding nicely above the red 200 MA. Today it had a little bit of a rough go in the morning, so something to maybe keep an eye on. It fell below it, but then was able to quickly recover, and then more or less held it the rest of the day. You see it's battling it here toward the end of the day, so that's why I say maybe something to keep an eye on. This is on the 5-minute chart, as you see. And it made a couple of attempts, its first couple of attempts at establishing over that 1502, which we had put on the daily chart, I don't know, several days ago. And that level coming into play at the moment. Now that's the one that I'm really looking for in order to unlock the next level up. But it's having trouble at the moment establishing support over that level. So we'll see, but also it's not returning and trying to retest the 1411 zone below. So again, full disclosure here, I added to my SoFi position today. You can see that in my video that I put out earlier today called My Stock Buys Today or something like that. You'll see SoFi is in there. And before we get too far into the video, I also want to mention, let me give you the TLDR on this lockup situation that's in the title of the video. And I put that in there because I wanted to capture folks that are getting swept up in this reemergence of talk and chatter around SoFi lockup. I addressed this in the second half of the video. It's the first question that I deal with on the FAQ. But let me just give you the TLDR right now. I don't think that there's anything... Well, there's nothing that I'm concerned about with this. I think that the lockup that remains is months away, and I think it's also folks who've already been unlocked, and I think it's a very small amount, relatively speaking. And I'll go through some of those details in the first question of the FAQ if you want to fast forward to that. But I did just want to get that out of the way, but I put it in the title, not to clickbait, but just to try to catch people who are having this question, because what else are they going to be searching for but that term, if that's what they're kind of wondering about at the moment. But to me, lockup expiration is nothing that I'm worried about at this point. Again, that's me personally. Do your own research into that and figure it out for yourself, of course. But for me, I think that what's remaining is months away, small amount, people who've already been unlocked, and it's just unlocking some additional small numbers for them. Okay, so back to the chart. So this is where we're, sitting on the 5-day in my view. Now, if we pop things out here to the daily, kind of do an update here. So you see very similarly, butting its head up against that 1502 level, staying away from the 1411 for the time being. Now that 20 MA is coming in, getting quite close at the moment. So if we continue to string together these green days, those are probably going to connect before the end of the week. That's if we continue to move upward. If we draw back, then potentially not. But I'll be really interested to see how it reacts to that 20 MA. If it treats it as very strong resistance, if it makes it a first initial attempt over it. But to me, that could be a nice unlock, as we see here when the price established over the 20. Now, of course, it can head fake sometimes, right? It established there and then fell through, but it very quickly regained and established over. Now, the big difference here was after it established price action over the 20 at this point, it then very quickly also had a bullish crossover above the 50. And so I'll be looking for something similar now. There's quite a bit of distance between these two at the moment. And so this first attempt up might be a bit of a head fake. I don't know. Have to see if we even get an attempt, right, in the near future. And then that might just inch the 20 and the 50 closer together, and you might see something relatively similar. But just as I take it day by day and sort of piece it together as we go. But this bullish crossover still not complete, but still inching in that direction. So again, kind of seeing what that will bring in the days and weeks ahead. But like I said, I took it as an additional opportunity to snatch up some shares again today with the big, not really a caveat, but with the full acknowledgments that it may come down and retest that 1411 level in the near future. And if it does, I'm okay with that, as long as it doesn't flip that back to resistance like we saw here, the resistance that it then turned to support. I will, be okay with my shorter term swing trade position, with that 1411 dip, but we'll have to see if it loses support there or not. Now, on the data side of things, we do see the shorts peeling back quite a bit today per Ortex's estimates, this pinning them now under 10%. So to me, this is a really good evolvement. I think I definitely just made that word up. I don't know. This is a really good step with regard to the short situation. I personally would really like to see the shorts just stay away from SoFi for the time being. There's been enough rockiness, and that's, again, why I wanted to put that lockup stuff in the title and try to snatch folks who are searching for it and talk about it in the beginning. Similarly to why I put that SEC lawsuit situation in the title last week. Wasn't because I wanted to be clickbaity. It was because I wanted to snatch people who were like, oh no, this is going to cause a huge sell-off. And I want to say, no, this looks to me as though it's been dealt with and it's a thing of the past, and it's just happening to hit the news wire now. And so if you click on the news tab for SoFi, it's coming up. So of course I want to mention it because folks are going to be seeing that. Okay, but anyway, I'm more than happy to see short sellers stay away. I don't think that we need the selling pressure on top of everything else that, SoFi enthusiasts, I guess we'll say, or people have been paying attention to or playing SoFi have been dealing with over the last few months. So we'll keep tracking it day to day and just kind of see. Now, the utilization continuing to be relatively high. It's, over the 50% mark, which it hasn't been near that in quite some time. If you go back through previous videos, you can see where that has continued to creep up. But I'm happy with this being under 10% at the moment and kind of being able to continue on from there. Last thing that I wanted to mention on the order flow, we do see, speaking of like lower lows and lower highs, we do see it coming down here. And today, minus 2.2, that's in the millions of US dollars coming out on the large scale orders. So we did see that with no large inflow. Now, medium and small inflow orders pretty significantly outpacing, I guess the small not so much, but certainly the medium, and keeping us green. But I would keep an eye on this in the days ahead to see if there is any sort of fluctuation in what we've seen in recent days and weeks with the large scale orders helping to, I think, stabilize the price and, add to that ability to piece together some green days. But just some things to keep an eye on as we inch our way up and try to not get overly enthusiastic about a few green days in a row. It is nice to see. It is much better than the alternative, of course, but I still am, of a cautious sentiment because I want to see establishing over this 1502. I want to see what happens when we hit this MA. I want to see if we can get a bullish crossover here. I want this bullish crossover on the MACD to actually effectuate. And those folks who've been in this since it was in the mid-20s, this is still a very, very painful price point to be at for a lot of folks. And that's why you need to make smart decisions along the way, keep your risk in order, what have you. But those are decisions that you have to make for yourself, of course. All right, but that's what I have for you for the chart and the data. And let's flip things over to the FAQ. As always, I appreciate you all watching. All right, folks, so let's jump into the Q&A and let's kick things off with this lockup chatter. Now, I've seen this pop up a few different places on Reddit, mostly in the SoFi stock subreddit, but I just wanted to give my 2 cents. One, just to give an example, one of the posts was called, "Is anyone worried about new lockup restrictions lifting next week? Heard this is the 3rd round or so." And this was posted like a week and a half ago. So I don't know exactly what it is that they're referring to. But my understanding, and I don't want to go over this in detail again, but my understanding is that there's this 180-day lockup expiration that'll hit toward or at the end of the year, and that but the big thing with that is a very, very small percentage, I believe, of shares that will be unlocked, and I'm pretty sure that it's just for folks who already have had a bunch of shares already unlocked. So it's a small percentage to begin with, plus it's for folks who already have had a ton of shares unlocked. So if the selling pressure is going to be there from those people, it's going to be there already, or it's going to be there just sort of like at any point in time, right? So I don't think that that's not anything that I'm particularly worried about. Obviously, we'll keep an eye on it and sort of raise anything if it comes up at the time, but from my understanding, I don't think that it's anything happening imminently, for one. I think it's toward the end of the year, and for two, small percentage for people who've already had them unlocked, and that they could already be selling those currently unlocked shares into the market at much higher volume than what that 180-day lockup will potentially unlock. So that's my 2 cents. I don't think that there's not much that I'm concerned about. I'll say it that way. And but if something comes up that sort of changes that, we'll talk about that in the future. Will the bank charter boost the share price? This is always like crystal ball territory. Do we think any one particular catalyst will change the stock price or will have a heavy influence on momentum or anything like that? So just remember, this is pure prediction, speculative stuff. I would expect it to, yes. Anything that's good news for a stock in this type of category, in the fintech space, in the growth stage of life, and needing to be able to start to knock down these big goals that it has set for itself and expectations that people have. Now, while I think it's an expectation that people have that they will get this, I don't necessarily think that it's priced in. And again, that's where it's really crystal ball. It's just that I don't think it's priced in based on their current market cap and the value of the stock versus what the price history has been and the recent sell-off that we've seen. I'm sure a lot of other folks would disagree with that. They'll think, oh, it's still overpriced, or now it's finally fair value, and that bank charter is priced in, and if it doesn't come through, it'll plummet, and if it does, it'll just kind of be business as usual. That's kind of the gamut. Any of those things could be true, because just because I think that it will or will not impact the share price doesn't mean a thing for what the marketplace will actually do. So kind of have to prepare for that's why, for example, on different types of plays, biopharma plays, for example, if you get my newsletter, you've seen this. I like to play the run-up in anticipation of the FDA decision on whether or not to come out and grant something or progress a trial or something, but I don't like to hold through it. And yes, that means sometimes you miss out on that like 25% run in the pre-market or in the after hours or something, but it can also like crash the stock, right? And so it's pure speculation of what's going to happen at that moment, whether it's good or bad news. So that's my 2 cents, but just take it with the big grain of salt of it doesn't matter what I think will happen. The market will move the way it wants to move. Do you think SoFi will do well during inflation? So again, sort of a big question. I think a lot of this centers around sort of the loan business and the potential like bank status looming. In general, banks, my understanding is they tend to do well during sort of like mildly inflationary periods. But if inflation gets out of control and people like can't afford normal things because the inflation is just so crazy, then and the uncertainty, of course, that then causes, that can definitely just drag everything down, and to my understanding is a drag on traditional bank stocks as well, or lending type companies and institutions. But that sort of thing will probably play out relatively gradually, meaning the build up to inflation sort of hitting a certain nexus point or what have you. I don't know if you can see this ant here. But obviously something to keep an eye on if and when that does start to creep up, or more likely when it does start to creep up, and at what points it sort of triggers different reactions in the markets and in these types of banks / fintech/lending stocks unto themselves. This was a question that was asked on a green day. What percentage of today's movement is driven by the whole market movement, and why is it so sluggish in its climb? Meaning, they were asking this in the context of other growth stocks seem to have done much, much better today. It's probably when several growth stocks were having 5, 7, 8% green days, and the market overall was having a good day, but growth stock was having an exceptionally good day, and then SoFi was having a good day, but more in probably like the 2.5% range. Again, sort of, I don't know exactly how to quantify that in any realistic way. Like I said, the market on a macro level moves as it will. Any stock in and of itself, moving on a micro or a macro level, will move the way that it moves based on many factors and a lot of sentiment and perception in the marketplace, which, again, whether or not you personally agree with that, that's where folks can sort of like get off and have a divergent path from, well, I think that this move or this catalyst should mean this for this stock, but the marketplace seems to mean that it should mean this, and that's where most folks are going, right? Driving the price up or down, antithetical to what it is that you would expect. So why exactly, I don't know. I mean, it could be an indication that there's still sort of a bit of uncertainty around like where this should be priced exactly. It could be the added uncertainty of a lot of potential catalysts coming down the road, and seeing how, like, wanting to wait and see how those play out. And I don't necessarily think that means that it's priced in, but I do think that's, something like the bank charter. Folks are potentially really kind of waiting to see what's going to happen. Institutions coming in quite heavily also could, the build up to that could have sort of taken a bunch of shares, consumed a bunch of the float, I guess I should say, and maybe it's sort of like reconciling some volatility there. I don't exactly know. It's a pure speculation to figure out why other growth stocks would move a certain percentage, but SoFi wouldn't. But in just a generalized sense, in a logical sense, I would think that would mean that there's still some general uncertainty around, like, does SoFi deserve like a plus 7, 8, 9% day from investors at any given point in time. Will you shave your beard if SoFi hits X? Now, I've seen a few different price points on this. 35 rings a bell. I can't remember what the other ones were. Sure. I say let's go for it. I'll think of a price target and a time frame in which I would be happy to shave my beard if SoFi hits a certain price within a certain amount of time. But that was just a funny one. It's funny to me that I've seen it several places too. Different people have mentioned it. So yeah, that one just gave me a chuckle. But that's all that I have for the FAQs. I always appreciate folks in the comments. I know there's some lively banter that goes on there, and do with it what you will. It's on the channel on a video of mine, but I don't want to feel like I'm owning the comment space, other than to try my best to remove spam when I see it. But if folks want to disagree or say things that are nasty about me, I don't care. Doesn't matter. Have your opinion be heard through your anonymous screen name if you want, and say what you will. But the other half of that is there's a lot of really good questions that come out, and there's a lot of funny things that people say. Even some of the things that I think folks think they're being mean about, sometimes I think they're actually really funny. So so there's that. But always the wild west that is the comment section of, I guess, any sort of forum or pseudo forum. All right, folks. Well, I hope that you had a great trading day today and that your week is going well. And let's hope that we can finish strong. Thursday and Friday coming up. And I will see you in the next video.